I want to introduce you to the law offices of Vincent W. Davis at 888-888-6582. They're advocates for the rights of parents, grandparents, and guardians in juvenile dependency courts. Losing a child to a DCFS, CPS social worker based on an anonymous call, complaint, or your ex-spouse is not only horrific, but it's commonplace. Everyone will agree that there's nothing more valuable than one's child. You cannot afford to fight this alone. Call the law offices of Vincent W. Davis at 888-888-6582. Connect with an attorney today. That's 888-888-6582. Get your kids back.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Fight CPS with Sabrina, and I'm your host for this evening. Today we have a guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kirsten. It's nice to meet you and everyone else.
Nice to meet you too. So you have a story for us, yeah?
Yeah. My family, they're extremely strict and conservative. And they don't agree with my beliefs and how I raise my children. I choose gentle parenting. I'm pagan, and they definitely don't agree with that. And they hate my now ex-boyfriend with a burning passion. It all started out, I've got identical twin boys, and a little girl, and my mother, she came down from Missouri for their birthday, and she brought down some papers that she had printed off, and they were power of attorney papers that she wanted me and my now ex-boyfriend to sign. She wanted us to sign power of attorney over our children.
And for what reason?
She doesn't agree with how I parent. She doesn't like my boyfriend or ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
Still getting used to that. And her way of raising children is spank them for every little thing. Doesn't matter, if it was, you broke a vase on accident.
Yeah. You pick and choose your battles, but your mom picked every battle.
She did.
Yeah.
And we refused. We weren't comfortable with it. And we refused. And so then we thought that was the end of it. Well, a couple weeks ago, we have a family group chat, on Facebook Messenger, and my mother and her sister and my brother and his wife decided to do an intervention.
Oh, okay.
And tell me how they fear for my boy's safety, and they're just absolutely terrified for their safety. And I hung up on them.
I don't blame you.
I don't have to.
What were they saying that is so dangerous? Like what? Why don't they want the kids to be with you? I know the boyfriend deal, but are the kids in any kind of a danger? Do you think, or what would make them want to do that?
No, they have their own beds, but I have little tents on them for their own privacy. I mean, they're identical twins. They should at least have some semblance of privacy, to be their own person.
I like that.
And they think that the tents are not safe, that it's a fire hazard. They can get in and out easily, just fine. And
how old were they at this time?
They had just turned 5.
They just turned 5. Okay.
Yeah, this is very recent.
Okay.
And it's still currently ongoing. And again, that should have been the end of it.
Right. So they voice their concern. They want to pull some intervention crap on you, and you refuse. So then what happens? They call CPS on you?
They called the cops.
They call the cops.
Cops showed up a couple days later, pounding on my door at 11 o'clock at night.
I don't know why they like to do that. They really like to show up at 11 plus hours in the middle of the night.
And it was terrifying because, I was home alone. My ex was at work. The boys were in bed. I'm trying to get the baby ready for bed. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm exhausted. I put in my day's work. I work in healthcare, and he's like, I received the call. I'm here to do a welfare check on the children. I panicked and I just, I let him in, and he found nothing wrong. He checked on the boys. They were sound asleep. He asked what time they went to sleep. I was like, well, what time is it? And he's like, well, it's around 11:15. I said, well, they went to bed around 9:30. Their bedtime's 9, but sometimes it's a struggle. So they went to bed around 9:30. He's like, oh, okay. He asked where the baby slept. I was like, she sleeps in her pack and play,
Yeah.
And then, so he ran my ID, and I had a friend with me, and so he ran her social because she didn't have her ID on her at the present. He comes back in. I was like, so is everything okay? Everything passed? Boy, it's okay. House okay? He's like, yeah, everything's fine. Okay. Well, that, again, should have been it.
Yeah.
And I called my mother, and I was not nice on the phone to my mother. I was raging. I was extremely angry.
I bet. Yeah.
And I said, in what world do you think this is okay? And she's like, well, I didn't call the cops. I was like, well, if you didn't call the cops, then that would leave my brother and his wife or your sister. And so while I was chatting with my mother, she's like, well, I got a text back from your brother. He didn't call them. I was like, well, that leaves my aunt. And she lives in Texas.
Okay.
So all these people are out of state except for my brother and his wife, and they live not in town. They don't even live near me. They live about 2.5 hours from where I live. And they've never stepped foot in my home. And
When, sorry,
go ahead.
when the cop was there, saying that he is doing a welfare check, did he happen to mention to you like the allegation or why he was doing a welfare check?
No, he said that someone called and were concerned about the boys' sleeping conditions, and as soon as they said that, as soon as the officer said that, I knew it was my family.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
And so of course I was angry. No. So then maybe a week goes by, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go stay the night with my best friend and her kids, let the kids relax, me relax, get rid of some stress. While I was there, I get a call from CPS. And like my heart just sank. And I was absolutely I was so angry and just hurt and devastated. And she said that the allegations were child abuse, child neglect, and parties all the time at the house, underage drinking, drug use, drug paraphernalia where the children can reach it.
Yeah, those are some serious allegations.
Very serious.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I don't even think my children, so I don't know where they're getting the child abuse.
Yeah.
I don't do drugs. I work in healthcare. You have to pass a drug test to work in healthcare. And you have to pass an FBI criminal background check to work in healthcare.
Yeah.
And I have passed all of that.
Right.
And
so when CPS shows up, or did they call you first and then come, or did they just randomly show up?
They called me.
They called you.
And, I prepped, I went over what I was going to say. I was going to say, I would like to answer your questions because I have nothing to hide, but I feel like that would violate, my constitutional rights.
Yes. That is the normal reaction, is to want to prove that this is all BS and that you're trying, just to show them that this is it and done and get it over with. But unfortunately, that's not how they work.
And
as I'm sure you found out.
Yes. As soon as they show up, you panic. And of course, I've got blonde roots. Don't let my dark hair fool you. I panic. And first thing out of her mouth was my ex-boyfriend's name, asking if he was there. And I panicked and I said yes. Okay. And, he wasn't on my lease, and my family knew that and knew that they could use that to their advantage. And then I was like, oh, crap.
But you're allowed to have guests. Like, you're allowed to have people come over. Was there any kind of abuse or anything with the boyfriend?
No.
To make him a danger to the kids? Like, why?
No, our daughter is ours together. My twins are from mine and my ex-husband. And he's raised the twins since they were 2, and they're 5 now. So that's 3 years that he's raised them as his own.
Yeah.
And there's never been any abuse. He doesn't even spank them. Yeah.
I went through something very, very similar. And my mom didn't like my boyfriend, so called CPS. And it's so dumb because he was like the best person to my child. And then took my daughter and put her with my mother, who was the abuser. So, I mean, it's just an ongoing thing with everyone. It seems like the same kind of story. But, like, what is the deal with moms calling, CPS and the cops on their kids? Like, I would never do that to my kid.
When CPS called, they had the address wrong. They had my address wrong. And that's how I also knew that it was my family, because they don't actually know my address. They know how to get to my house, but they don't actually know my address. It's like a built-in GPS in their brain, so they don't know my actual address. So they gave them the wrong address. And, my ex-boyfriend and I, we ended up getting into a huge fight over it. And, he packed his stuff and he left. And I know it's because it's for the kids' safety and protection. But
what was their concern with the boyfriend being there?
They were informed of the allegation. They were told by my mother that he is abusive and a drug addict.
And did they just immediately took her side, didn't care what you guys had to say about it, just he wasn't allowed to be there?
Yeah. Well, they didn't even say that he couldn't be there, but he left.
They do that all the time.
Yeah, they didn't say that, but it was heavily implied.
Yeah.
And, he left of his own free will. And
did the social workers tell him that it's in your best interest if he backs off?
No. He chose to do this on his own. Well, we agreed.
Okay.
And I actually received a call from CPS today. And yesterday, actually. Yesterday I talked with the caseworker supervisor. And I kind of explained a little bit of my side without going into a lot of details, without giving away too much information. But I did explain that all of this was because they don't agree with how I live my life, or how I don't agree with my religion. They don't agree with how I gentle parent. They don't agree that my ex-boyfriend, encouraged me to be myself, to stand up for myself against them, to speak my own mind, which to them, it was threatening to them.
Right.
And now my mother is trying to fight for grandparents' rights.
And so where are the kids now? Are they with you?
Yes, they're with me. For 3 years, I've fought for full custody of my twins. My ex-husband hasn't seen them in over 2 years. He doesn't even live in the state of where I'm at now.
Okay.
He's all the way across country. And
it's just you.
Yes, it's just me. And, I finally got full custody in June, and I got the papers in July, and now this is happening.
Yeah, what a bummer, huh? At least you got the custody. That's great. Now you just got to keep it, right?
Yeah, I feel like my mother was almost waiting for this moment so she could, I got the custody papers 2 weeks before, 2.5 weeks before she came with those power of attorney papers. And it was, looking back now, I can see it's almost like all these dominoes are lined up perfectly. And, it was like she was just waiting for me to get full custody to where she can try and take my children.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And when you explain this to the social workers, that these allegations aren't correct and she doesn't agree with, blah, 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 what did they say?
They
continue their investigation, right? Because they need to investigate to see.
They have 45 days to do the investigation. I was like, I get that you have to do your job, but I still won't let you into my home.
Good.
My home is very clean, Yeah.
It doesn't matter because they'll just try to find anything, 3 pieces of clothes on the floor next to the laundry machine means you have a dirty house. Right?
Yes. So. Or, my kids, crumbled up a granola bar into the sofa.
Exactly. And when they really push for that, to come to the house, it's because they only have allegations and they're trying to get some kind of solid evidence that they can say or use against you.
And I refuse to let them into my home. And I told them that. I told the supervisor, I said, I will not let you into my home. Good. And she's like, well, we have 45 days and the caseworker still has to come to your home to at least leave a business card. And I was like, well, that's fine, but you're still not entering my home. And I informed her that, and she was very surprised to hear that the calls had come from out of state. She thought that they came from where I'm at. I said, no, these people don't even live in the same state as me.
Right.
And she was very surprised to hear that. And she's like, well, we weren't informed of that. And, I also informed her that I have a Help Me Grow provider, which, they are funded by the state. They are state tested, which means they're state mandated reporter.
Right.
And if they don't report things, they can lose their license.
Yeah.
And the provider is in my home several times a month.
So that's good for evidence for you.
Yes.
You know, I would have her write you up something, you know.
Yeah.
That
Well, she gave me her business card. I told the supervisor, I said, look, I have my provider's business card. You know, I've got her name, I've got her number, I've got her email, I've got her business card, and I will give it to you guys. Yeah, and she was very surprised that I had a state-mandated reporter in my home several times a month. And she's like, we weren't informed of this. And I said, well, why would you be?
Yeah.
You
exactly. But have they gotten contact with this person yet?
Not yet. CPS, they called me again today while I was working. They always call while I'm at work. And I'm like, I can't really talk. I'm not allowed to be on my phone while I'm working. And she's like, oh, make this brief. I'm like, good. Yeah. I don't like being rude on the phone, but, you know, I had to be.
Sometimes you have to be. Yep.
You know, and I was like, so she's actually coming to the house Tuesday at 11. Why is it always 11 with these people?
I'm telling you, it's always that same time.
Day or night, it's always the same time.
Yeah.
And
like they try to catch you off guard when you're tired at the end of the day.
yeah. Well, I actually have Tuesday off, but you know, I've got the whole weekend to prepare and plan and just breathe. And a lot of times I am, because it's ongoing, sorry if I get super emotional.
No, it is. It is so emotional. Like,
you know,
the scariest thing you could go through as a mom, you know?
I lost someone I love very much. You know,
I'm so sorry.
he was so good to me, so good to my kids. You know, my children, they wake up every morning, Mommy, is Daddy back? Anytime someone walks in the door, Mommy, is that Daddy?
Oh, it's so difficult. Oh.
And I don't know what to say to them, because I know that he is missing them as much as they are. And they're also sending my dying grandmother to spy on me. I actually, just before I got on with you guys, missed a phone call from her.
Now, you said that you guys have a family chat, you know, where they were saying all this to you. Have you tried showing the social worker these chats to show them that this is, you know, not exactly as they're being told, and that they just don't agree with you? And
well, they do all their talking on like a video chat. Like intervention was on a video chat. Them telling me, you know, they also told me that if after the intervention, before the cops would call, they told me that if I didn't dump and kick out my boyfriend, pack up my kids and myself and move to Missouri and live with my mother, they would call the cops and CPS. And if I'm being honest, I honestly didn't expect them to do that. I mean, they're my family, you know.
Is this video like something that you can pull up again, or was it just like a live?
It was a live video chat. It was like FaceTime.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's too bad. So
yeah. And I ended up leaving the group. I blocked my whole family. I even blocked my grandmother. And she doesn't, you know, she has maybe a year left, if that.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And because they're sending her to spy on me, I had to block her as well.
Yeah.
And it's just.
That really sucks. I hear you too. I've had to cut off my whole family. So what's like the situation right now? You're waiting for them to do the investigation. Do you have any court dates set up? Like,
there's no court dates, because it's just allegations. They don't have proof to set up a court date.
right.
I am working on trying to get a lawyer. Unfortunately, there's only one lawyer here in town who sometimes deals with CPS cases. Every other lawyer, I've actually got a notebook and I've got 1.5 pages full of lawyer names and businesses, and I've called each and every one of them, and each one has said, "No, I'm sorry, we don't deal with CPS. We don't. No, sorry."
Really, really important too that you go with a CPS, like a you don't want to go with family law. You want it to be I forgot what it's called, child welfare court, and family court, like for couples fighting over children. It's not that. It's for child dependency, a child dependency lawyer, and you want to make sure that you really look into them and see their reviews and if they've won before, because a lot of family attorneys will try to say that they can take your case or they can help you fight, but they don't really
know what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't, unless you're in the game, you're not really in the game. They won't let certain lawyers like fight for you if they don't have certain training in child dependency and all that.
Unfortunately, I live in a really crappy small town, and
not many options.
Not many options. This lawyer, I do know that he has dealt with CPS in the past, and it actually involved my family when I was a child. On my father's side, his brother and wife lost custody of their daughter, and she was placed with my parents. And CPS was involved, just a lot of drama, and she ended up being removed from my parents' care and placed where her older sister was living, and she was adopted. And he represented them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what extent this lawyer deals with CPS, but I know he has dealt with them in the past. And he's the only one who deals with CPS, so I'm kind of banking on him to help me. Because I don't really have any other options aside from him.
Yeah. I would just really, really, really do your homework and make sure you know what to tell your lawyer what to do. Especially if it's like a public defender, which unfortunately a lot of us have no choice but to use them. So it's really important that you know your rights and you know what's up so you can tell them what you want and hope that they'll listen to you. So kind of irrelevant, but you were saying that they gave your mom, was she a foster parent?
Yes, they went to foster classes. They went to foster parenting classes. And she was just a baby at the time. They lost custody of her because apparently putting milkshakes in a bottle is just not the joke. I shouldn't use sarcasm or joke about this. It's not something to joke about.
That is something so stupid. Are you really going to take a child because of something like that?
Well, it wasn't just that. It was very unsafe living conditions. Roaches. They wouldn't bathe her. They wouldn't change her.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's an issue. And why didn't your parents adopt? Is because they didn't want to, or did they not qualify?
I'm not sure. The rest of the family, looking back now, I feel like it was because my parents were so strict with her. They were so strict with my brother and I and our upbringing. Mm-hmm. For example, when my cousin was in my parents' care, she wasn't even 6 months old. I believe that when a child is crying any child, including a baby, especially a baby or a child, when they're crying, they don't need spanked for crying. They need held and comforted.
I agree.
You know, but they would spank her for crying. And I remember watching this, and I would go to the bathroom and I would cry because I felt so helpless and small, and there was nothing I could do. And when she had broken one of my porcelain dolls, I tried to hide it, but didn't work out, and she ended up getting punished for that.
The reason why I'm asking is because maybe like if you can get some kind of like paperwork from the courts or something, like showing that, you know, that she tried to take a child before and the reasons why it didn't work out, and, you know, to try to show that this is like a pattern, this isn't a first time. You know, maybe.
I don't even know if they would have records going back that far. It's almost 20 years old. Almost 20 years old.
They should. They've put all the records, all the data into the computers. So, like, I know in my state and county, I can go online to the courts and I can look back, like, to the 70s and 80s on certain cases. So I know with the, like, family court and all that, they hide a lot of it, but it will still be there. Like, you can see the file, but they won't show you, like, a whole bunch of the info. But, I mean, it's worth a shot to try to see if, you know, because what they don't tell you is that CPS comes to you with these allegations and they take into consideration everything that people say, plus whatever they add to it, and they make these allegations. Well, it's your job to prove to the courts that these allegations are rubbish. They're just false, and, you know, as much proof as you can come up with to try to fight what they're saying. And they don't tell you this. They will just, you know, make you think that you have to go with the flow, and that, you know, the courts are just going to go with whatever the social worker says. They don't explain that to you, that it's your job to, you know, show them that it's, oh crap. So luckily you don't have a court date. So hopefully it stays that way. Were they saying that you need to sign any kind of a contract or
no? And I won't sign anything without a lawyer present. I won't sign anything.
Good. The only thing that worries me is that I hear this a lot when CPS, when they don't get to use their control and you don't let them in and you don't, you know, let them expose all your crap and you don't follow along with what they're saying. They'll say, okay, well, you know, we have however many days to investigate, and they'll just randomly show up at your house with the police with a court order to take your kid. And it'll be like random. You won't get any kind of notice, and they're just sneaky like that. So, I mean, it really sucks because it's your right to not let them in. It's your right not to sign their paperwork. And they don't even give you that right. Like, they make it so you don't have a choice. And then they'll tell you they're going to take away your kid and arrest you if you try to fight it. And it's so awful.
Yeah. And this isn't my first time dealing with CPS.
So, you know,
a week and a half after the twins turned 2, I ended up calling CPS on my ex-husband. We were still married at the time. He was very abusive to myself, and the abuse spilled over into the children. So I called CPS on him. We spent 6 months in the domestic violence shelter. And we, you know, finally got into this place where we're at now. And then the caseworker turned on me and said that she would testify against me on my ex-husband's behalf so that he would get custody of the children. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm the one that called you to protect us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's what they do.
Happening here.
That's what they do. It's horrifying, you know, because you should be able to have some kind of support, somebody that you can call when things go bad like that, and just to
Yeah.
know that you really can't, because they'll just end up turning on you. It's really awful. Like, what are you supposed to do in those cases? And I grew up in a domestic violence shelter too, and it's rough, and you have to take all kinds of classes, and like it's your whole life gets turned upside down, literally. And so it's great that you did the program and you got to where you're at now. That's great. And God, I'm so sorry that they're messing with you again like this, but you just really need to prove to them that this is because of your mother wanting to take you're the mom. If you want to raise your kids a certain way, that's up to you. If your kids are in any kind of danger, immediate danger, like what the hell what do they want?
Yeah. If I want to raise my children in the middle of the woods barefoot, I'll raise them in the middle of the woods barefoot.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry.
Technical difficulty right there.
No, I prefer gentle parenting because I was raised, and looking back now is very abusive. Very strict Christian household, very totalitarian. Just and my father, he's passed away. But he was abusive as well, not just physically, but sexually abusive to me as well.
Oh gosh.
And I'm just now dealing with that. I've suppressed those memories. I don't want to remember.
And did this all go down when your mom was together with him? Like, was she aware of what was going on?
She did not divorce my father until I was 24. And
this might be something that you might want to bring up to the social worker, like bring it to their attention that as a child, your mother let this happen to you. So why would
She and the church hid my father's child pornography addiction.
Mm-hmm.
They hid a lot of things. The church told me that I was damaged goods, and that I was a broken vessel, and that not even God could fix me.
Oh my gosh.
That was coming from the pastor of the church that I was in counseling with. And he told my parents to flush my antidepressants down the toilet. And they forced me to watch as they flushed them down the toilet.
What in the world?
And that's just kind of the frosting of the abuse that went on.
Yeah.
Just a tiny little insight of what growing up was like.
I know, like, it's the last thing I would recommend is to tell the social worker or anything, because you kind of want to just not tell them as much as possible. But on this case, I would mention this because you need to like make it clear to them that you were abused by them, and you're worried that if your kids go to your mom, the same thing is going to happen. Now,
unfortunately, there's no paper trail. There's no documents of the abuse.
Because they go off hearsay, right?
Yeah, it was all swept under the rug by my mother. We didn't talk about the big things. Everything was all happy sunshine and rainbows. You weren't allowed to feel anger because anger was a sin. Sadness was a form of anger because, if you held it in, you could become angry,
right. And see, it's kind of a catch-22 with talking to them about this, because a lot of the times if you explain to a social worker that there was abuse when you were a child, they automatically assume that since you've been abused that you will be the abuser, which is just ridiculous. So that's why, like, I don't know exactly what advice to give you on this, because on one hand it could save you, and on the other hand it could totally ruin it even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Honestly, I'll probably just not talk to them about it because I don't want to.
Now, anyways, but if they try to get crazy with you and like give you a court date and try to take the kids, I would like try to prove that, you know, this is, you guys are trying to place the kids with somebody who is an abuser, whether it was swept under the rug or not. They go off hearsay with the allegations that they have against you. So therefore, you know, they technically are supposed to investigate everything, you know, that's reported to them. Whether they do or not, I don't know, because, you know, this is just a business for them. They don't care about you. They don't care about your kids. They just look at you and your kids as a fucking as a paycheck. And it's sickening. It's so sickening, but that's all they care about. It truly is. They make so much money off of you and your kids that, you know, it makes them want to take kids away because they get bonuses. And it's just so sick and twisted how it's still happening. It's been going on for so long, and it's so corrupt.
And I feel like when Children's Services was originally started, I feel like it was started with good intentions. But it's become so corrupt.
They do not have good intentions. They act like it sometimes, but they really don't.
Well, when it was first established, because it was established by the government, I feel like when it was first established by the government, it was established with good intentions in mind, but it became so corrupt. It became about money and not about the children.
Yeah. And the 1997 Bill Clinton Act, where he made it so that way social workers get bonuses for taking kids away, and if they have any kind of health condition or mental health condition, they get even more bonuses. And so, you know, it's an incentive to take kids away. You know, it's not safe anymore to send your kids to school. It's not safe to take your kids to the doctor or go to the emergency room because, like, they're so they're so connected with CPS. And like every day now, like somebody will tell me or send me their videos and like just like crazy things. Like the kid was riding a bike and broke his leg, and they called CPS and took the kids and said that the mom broke the leg, and she had it on video. And they asked her, well, why were you videoing? Why was I videoing my kid on a bike? Why? What kind of question is that?
Memories, to make memories.
Exactly. Like just they're so dumb. It bugs the crap out of me.
No, but sometimes I'll video my kids outside with their little sister, and I mean they're 5, so sometimes they just, you know, like she'll fall down and they'll be holding her hands and they'll just dragging her.
And that's it. Kids get hurt. Bottom line, kids get hurt. You know, we shouldn't have to be afraid to take our kids to the doctor or to the hospital because they got an owie, you know? I know there is cases where, like, kids absolutely do need to be taken away, but, like, 90% of the time, that's not what's happening.
Exactly. And a lot of times it's just false accusations. And,
exactly.
You know, my family's doing this pretty much because I won't sign my kids over to them.
Right. And is it a paycheck kind of a thing for your mom, do you think? I know for my mom, it was a paycheck thing. She was getting a lot of money from her daughter.
I wouldn't put it past her. She constantly talks about money.
Okay.
She's very appearance oriented. My whole family is. And then here I'm looking like a slob. So they, if you look good, if you're fit, if you look like you have money, even if you don't have money, if you look like you have money.
My parents are the same way.
You know, then, you know, that's someone you should be chummy with, you know.
Yep.
But them, I'm government trash because, you know, I live in income-based government housing.
Yep. My parents are the exact same way. Exact same way.
So to them, I'm trash. I'm government trash.
Yeah.
and, I don't own a home,
So what? You're like a single mom and you're kicking ass because you have your own place, whether it's government or not, and you're taking care of your kids. And that's all that should matter. But I have parents just like that. My dad wouldn't even be seen with me, like even as a kid, teenager, like unless I was fully decked out and looked like a stripper, And every time I'd see him, like even if I didn't see him for several years, before he would even say hello to me, he would just start like pointing things at my face, like, "What is that? What is that?"
My mother would not let me wear black eyeliner because hookers wore black eyeliner. I wasn't allowed to do my hair certain ways because that's how hookers do it, or that's how strippers do it.
Yeah.
Turtlenecks were best.
Yeah.
I would have to literally try on clothes and do all sorts of like the bend over test, touch my toes, raise my arms, measure the length of the skirt, or the length of the shorts. I had to do the fingertip test for shorts and skirts.
Yeah. It's like, and when they raise you that way, like, what do they expect you to become? Like, like you're gonna end up hating that and doing the complete opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I completely ran in the opposite direction when I turned 18. I was homeschooled my entire life. I never went to public school. I was homeschooled, with my mom as my teacher. And after I turned 18, my grandmother got me these. It was back when like skinny jeans and ripped pulls were all the rage, and I had this really cute pair, but they were skin tight. And my mom had a fit, and I told her, I was like, look, I'm 18 now. I can make my own clothing choices.
Yeah.
She did not like that. Oh my goodness, that last week of school was complete hell. Horrible, I should say. If I got one digit wrong on a math question, I had to redo the entire math lesson. Or if my penmanship wasn't neat and flowing enough, then I had to redo the entire lesson. And that was for every single subject. So I dropped out my senior year.
I was just going to say that.
Out. I dropped out my senior year. I moved out.
It's too much pressure.
It wasn't even about the pressure.
From your mom, I mean.
It wasn't even about the pressure. I worked great under pressure. I always waited to do like a research paper, a book report until the night before, and it was perfect. So it wasn't really about the pressure. It was about the control. And, her not treating me as an equal,
Yeah.
And I moved out,
Yeah.
But she told everybody that I ran away.
She sounds narcissistic.
She is extremely. And we actually, at the boys' birthday party in July, we actually kind of got into like a little mini, I wouldn't say it was an argument, it was more of a disagreement. Because she was telling one of my friends, oh, well, when Kirsten was 18, she ran away from home. I was like, I didn't run away. I was 18 and I moved out.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you ran away. I was like, no, I moved out. And she's like, no, you ran away. I was like, whatever, Mom. This is the boy's birthday. We're just whatever.
Yeah.
So she likes to tell people that I was a runaway at 18. And pretty much I'm a government trash screw up who has a GED.
Don't listen to that.
So
I mean, you have a GED. That's great. That's still, high school efficiency. You know,
And
so what? You didn't graduate with a diploma, but you still did your thing. You still got the necessary,
I mean,
GED. So,
I know I'm not the smartest cookie in the tent, but I'm pretty smart. I enjoy reading an awful lot. Like I've
that's
got
good because you're going to need to read a lot regardless. Yeah.
yes, yes. And I read a lot of old books, like Leo Tolstoy, Jane Austen, really old books. So and the way those books are written is very hard to understand to most people. So maybe reading some law books wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah. And plus you have to be like extra careful because you're in the medical field. So if they try to pull some crap and, try to say that you've neglected your kid or whatever and charge you with it, that could ruin your whole career.
It could. I could lose my job. And I love my job. I love working, in healthcare. I love, aside from being a mother, this is where my heart is, and not many people have the heart for this job.
Yeah.
And I love what I do.
Has anybody explained this to your mom that what she's doing is trying to ruin your life, and
she doesn't
proud of you?
She doesn't care. She wants what she wants. She wants to believe what will fit her narrative. Mm-hmm. And she and the family have painted my boyfriend as a monster. Yeah. Because that's what fits their narrative. That's what will get them what they want.
Right.
And they will do whatever it takes to get them what they want.
Yeah. And so going back to the beginning when the police came and they checked everything, the police said it looks good, right? They didn't have a problem with the tents.
No.
And they left you, and it should just be that. That should be enough.
He said, is there a way they can get in and out? I showed him how the zippers work. There's a one on the inside tent, and then the outside is a double zipper. And I showed him, I was like, it's a double zipper. They can zip it from the inside, then it can be unzipped from the outside. They have a way to get in and out. And
I'm sure they love it.
Oh, they absolutely love it. And I let them pick out their own bedding, whatever they wanted to choose for their bedding. They decorated it however they wanted. So it's their own personal private space, because they do share a room.
Yeah, that's so cool.
They need that space, that privacy, and that's what these the tents on their beds do, and they give them that privacy, and they are very close. They do have brotherly arguments,
of course,
fighting for a toy,
It's normal.
But they are very close. They have their own language, but at night, I feel like they need their own space, just to decompress, to
of course, yeah,
be their own self.
Mm-hmm. Somebody really needs to explain to your mom that by doing what she's doing, she's going to be pushed out of your life and the kid's life and have no relationship at all whatsoever. Would you rather have no relationship at all whatsoever, or
I tried to explain it to her, and I also sent her. I typed up a message. I was like, the last time I ever talked to my mother was a week ago. It was Thursday last, and I was like, I'm sending you a message to give to the family. And so I typed a message. I said, it's to the effect of, I hope you guys are happy. Just because you didn't get your way, you had to call the cops and CPS to try and get your way. And I was like, I hope y'all burn in hell with a pineapple shoved up your butts. I mean, that wasn't the exact terminology I used for butts, but,
Like from Little Nicky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reference because they don't listen to that kind of music. They're too good for that.
Yeah, our parents sound very similar.
Yeah.
Well, luckily they haven't taken the kids. That's a really good sign.
They haven't taken the kids. And
normally, if they're gonna take the kids, they usually do it kind of right away, because if not, when they try to do it later, they can be in trouble, I guess you can say. Because they'll say, well, why didn't you remove the kids in the first place? Why is it a danger now and not then? And they can get in trouble for it. So normally they just take the kids and then, make you fight for that.
I get the feeling after I explained all of what my family's doing to them, after I explained it to the supervisor, I feel like they're just trying to get the investigation over and done with as quickly as possible and close it up. And
that's their line to everyone, though, whether they have intentions of that or not. They just say it to everyone to make you feel like, okay, well, I just have to, work with them and to get this all shut out. And just be careful with that.
I'm not working with them. I'm very stubborn.
Good. It's just their way of manipulation.
Yeah, it sounds very much like my mother. I can be very stubborn when it needs to be. And, when it comes to my children, I will out stubborn anyone. I will fight anyone, kind of like a come at me, bro.
You can figure out a way to, I know you don't want to communicate with your family, but if you can get some kind of a text message. Okay, the reason why I'm saying this is because I had a problem years ago with a landlord. She was kind of nuts, but it was because her daughter, one of them died in a car accident, and then the other one killed herself because of it. So she wanted to have her apartment back where they all grew up for Christmas. And she was trying to kick me out literally the day before Christmas. And hello, how am I supposed to do that? So she called CPS on me. And when she called CPS, she sent me a text message saying that, because I'm not getting out right away when she snaps her fingers, that she's going to call CPS and tell CPS all kinds of lies about me. So luckily, and I just thought she's crazy, whatever. I moved out the day after Christmas. Yeah. But when CPS showed up and I was able to show them the text message, they closed the case out because they saw that it was, a vindictive kind of a thing. And if, maybe you have any kind of old conversation saved on your phone or anything that can prove.
They've actually been very careful with this. I've gone back and I've tried to comb through everything, and everything was done over FaceTime. Everything was said over FaceTime. Very sneaky and vindictive of him to do over FaceTime.
Any kind of family friends or anyone that can write you some kind of an affidavit or whatever, a witness statement, explaining that they've seen, your mother or whoever manipulate you and try to take your kids because of bull.
My best friend, she used to live across the street from me. She saw everything that my mother did to me.
I would ask her to write it out for you.
Oh, I know she'd do it in a heartbeat, and I know her mother would do it in a heartbeat too.
I would absolutely take advantage of that and get them to write you something out, just so that way you always have it. If later on your mom tries to pull this crap again or whatever, you always have that kind of, proof.
Yeah. And I've got friends that will back me up and, who are willing to write statements on my behalf.
That's great.
Stating, let person, she doesn't even yell at her kids. She doesn't spank them. She doesn't beat them. They're not abused.
Yeah. I would definitely get those written up. Have them do that for you. That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time here. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Just anyone who's going through this, just keep fighting. and I don't have any advice to how to get through it, because if I'm being honest, I'm struggling very much, having mental breakdowns in the middle of the day. Like the other day, I was at my clients and I just started sobbing at my client's house. And I was like, I can't be doing this at work.
Yeah.
Or, my kids will give me a hug and I'll just start sobbing. And they'll be like, oh, it's okay, Mommy. It's okay. Don't cry, Mommy. It's okay. Just take a deep breath, Mommy. It'll be okay. Which just makes me cry harder,
Oh.
So
I'm sorry you're going through all this. I really hate that they do this to people, and then they expect you to not be upset about it and to be calm in front of your kids, because otherwise, you're an even worse parent. But wouldn't I be a worse parent if I wasn't upset?
Yeah. Wouldn't it make me look like I don't care?
Yeah, exactly. But when you do care, they take advantage of it. It's so ridiculous. Well, I'm so glad that they haven't taken the kids from you. That's a great sign.
Me too. Fingers crossed that it stays that way.
Yeah, I would love if you would come back on and update us and let us know how it goes. Hopefully it ends pretty quickly here. Don't let them take advantage of you. Stand your ground. You're not alone. Keep fighting.
They have 45 days before they've got 45 days to close out the investigation.
Just make sure within those 45 days that you're really on your game. Make sure your house is spotless, and if it does come down to that, because they're probably going to come at you and say, look, we just want to close the case out, but we have to see your place before we can do that. Then, it might be worth it to do that if you know that your house is, tip top, and, you've got the safety covers and food in the fridge and all that. You know, I've seen that happen a bunch of times where they just want to search and then they don't have anything, so they leave you alone, or they'll try to make you sign a contract saying that whatever the hell they want. But it seems like, I mean, it's already a great sign that they didn't take the kids, so I doubt that they're gonna try to now, because like I said, it makes them look bad, and I'm pretty sure you can even go after them, and that's why they don't do that. They take the kids right away. But yeah, so that's a great sign that you still have the kids.
But I just need to get my head in the right space, and just, thankfully I do yoga. That helps a lot. And just take some deep breaths and,
and reach out to your friends, like your closest friends. Reach out to them, and you don't have to do this alone. If you don't have to, don't. And, this is one of those situations where, it's heart-wrenching and very emotional.
And a lot of times you feel alone and you feel isolated, even when you've got friends in your court, because, they're off living their own life.
Yeah.
And you're stuck at home with all this going on in your head, and you feel so isolated, so alone, so stressed and panicked, and you've got all these emotions, and then you have to put on a smile for your kids so that they don't know that anything's wrong. And that it's completely draining. Like, I am running on empty, mentally, emotionally, physically. I'm on empty. And
well, just remember that you need to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of your kids as well. So as hard as that is to do, you just need to give yourself, a day or a weekend or whatever, where it's just you being calm, doing things you like, getting a pedicure or whatever it is to calm you down and get you back in the game.
I usually paint. Painting.
Oh, that's so cool. There you go.
Reading and painting. All the pictures that are in my house, I've painted.
That is so cool. I love that.
Painting. It's
great.
Yeah, and so I do paint with the kids. So I don't know if that could be considered horrible and abusive because I let them paint.
No. It's healthy. That's good for their brain.
Yeah. Yeah, I let my children be creative and use their imagination, and I do let my children tell me no. I feel like that creates healthy boundaries. I tell them no, and I try and explain why I'm saying no. And my children are able to come to me. The other day, you know, my son was like, "Mommy, you made me sad." I said, "Well, why did I make you sad?" And he said, "Well, you made me sad when you took my toy." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry that it made you sad. The reason I took your toy is because you weren't listening to mommy when I asked you to do this, to do X, Y, and Z. And I did tell you that if you didn't do X, Y, Z, I would take your toy."
Yeah.
But I am sorry that you're sad,
And one last thing too I want to say to you is you kind of need to coach your kids through this. I know they're young, but they, as best as you can, explain to them that these people aren't their friends, and as friendly as they might be, because at some point they're probably going to try to talk to the kids, and they're good at manipulating situations, at manipulating kids to say certain things and twisting stuff around.
I've kind of explained it to us like there are some bad people who are trying to take you away from mommy and daddy. They want to take you away from your brother. They want to take you away from sissy. They want to take you away from mommy and daddy and put you somewhere alone.
Yeah. And you need to make it really clear that sometimes bad guys don't look like bad guys. Sometimes they look like good guys and that they're your friends, but they're not your friends. And you need to, listen to mommy when they tell you you can't trust them. And
and the other day, we were looking at some witchcraft pictures, and they're like, "Ooh, I like this monster." I was like, "Buddy, that's not a monster. Real monsters look like people. Real monsters look like you and me.
Yep.
Real monsters don't show themselves like this."
Yeah, and explain to them that they don't have to talk to these people, and if they ask them a question, you need to teach them, I don't know, ask my mom. No matter what the question is, I don't know, ask my mom. I don't know, ask my mom. One of the times that I dealt with CPS, they came into my house and they had 2 or 3 workers talking to my daughter in the living room and me in the bedroom with one of them with the door open. And I had some melatonin tablets that were chewable in my stand. And so they were asking me if I had any kind of medication or whatever. And I said, well, yeah, sometimes I take these. And my daughter was sitting right there where she can see it. So she automatically pointed and was like, oh, yeah, I take medicine. I take medicine to go to sleep. And so they were trying to get at me to say that I was drugging my kid to take these meds. And they were there for hours trying to make me sign and whatever. And I told them, you know what? Why don't you ask her what flavor that is? Why don't you ask her what it tastes like? And she said grape, and it was bubble gum. So then they finally kind of sort of left me alone. They still were trying to make me sign a contract that I wouldn't be giving her meds like that, which I never had. Anything like that, she would act the opposite. It would make her hyper. So irrelevant. But yeah, anyways, I just wanted to share that with you that, just teach them as much as you can about these people, not to trust them. And, it's kind of hard for a child to understand the situation and the manipulation. And, all they see is somebody smiling at them, sometimes offering them candy or ice cream or toys or whatever. And
thankfully I try, they only get candy when they go to the potty. And
cool. But I mean, from the social workers.
Yeah. Well, I just tell them that you can't have
my daughter with ice cream. They would take her, they would drive her in their car and take her to get ice cream only if she would say things that they wanted her to say.
Yeah. Well, the boys are lactose intolerant, so they can't have ice cream. So,
Yeah.
Well,
it could be anything, toys, whatever, and the best thing you can just do is just keep them educated about it as best you can so they don't talk or say something. And
they're very outgoing that they don't know a stranger, and I'm like, son, you cannot talk to people like that. You know, most people, yes, they're very friendly, but not everyone is your friend. Not everyone is going to be nice. Not everyone wants you coming up to them in the middle of the store and saying, I love you. You know,
Yeah.
you know, and I try and explain, these people are not your friends.
Yeah. That's great. That's great that you're doing that. And I would just keep, like, every day, like, just make it part of your routine just to talk to them about it. It's really the best thing you can do, because these people are horrible. And
I always worry that they'll come to the house while I'm at work and the sitter is here. And so, you know, I've talked to my sitters. I'm like, look, when I leave the house, I'm locking the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Good. And I have my keys, so I will open the door for myself.
Good.
You know, no matter who knocks on the door, don't open it.
Yes.
If they show up, call me immediately.
Yes.
You know, but don't let them in. Don't answer the door for anyone. And when I get home, I will unlock the door.
Right.
And I've told them, you know, the door stays locked no matter what.
And explain to her, too, that they might even show up with police pounding on the door, you know, and just don't answer it. You know, she doesn't have to, and they need to take it up with you.
Yeah.
But so we're out of time. Was there anything else you wanted to say before we end the show?
Just know that anybody who's out there fighting this, you're not alone, and good luck. Honestly, you'll need every ounce of luck you can get.
Yeah, very true. And right back to you. I wish you the best. Please let us know what happens. Hopefully this fizzles out. But I'm
hoping, but I'm trying not to hope too much.
Yeah, you got to be on your game, huh?
Yes, I gotta stifle what hope I have. That way I'm always on edge and always prepared.
Exactly. Always be on your toes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Kristen, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. I saw some of the comments earlier. They were saying thank you for sharing your story as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, have a great weekend. Thank you. And if anybody else out there wants to share your story, please contact us and we'll get you on. All right. This is Fight CPS with Sabrina, and you guys all have a great night. Bye.
Bye.